Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Inspire, Innovate, and Ignite panel discussions. And today I'm joined by four wonderful people: Linda Binns, Julie Nelson, Denise Cambiotti, and Anne Irwin. So if I pronounce your names incorrectly, just give me a slap across the face and, I will remember your name next time. But it's wonderful to have you all here. And I'd just like to ask you to just quickly introduce yourself. Don't spend more than about a minute and tell us what you do. So let's start with Linda, who's on in the clockwise section of the floor.
Yes, hi, I'm Linda Binns, and my specialty is energy. So this is why I love talking about this topic. I'm an energy coach, helping people understand their energy and the energy around them and learn how to master that so that they can bring about transformation of anything by working with the energy. So that's my focus. That's me.
Okay, so where are you joining us from?
I'm originally from the UK, but I live now just outside of Portland in Oregon in the United States.
Okay, great stuff. And then Julie, can you tell us where you're coming from and, a little bit more about yourself?
Of course. So I'm in the beautiful cold Blue Mountains in New South Wales, Australia.
That's why the blue, isn't it? Because they're cold.
Yeah. No, actually what the blue is the gum. It's the hue from the gum that comes out of the leaves in the air, and it creates this look of blue in the mountains. Okay. So our gum trees, which is rather beautiful. I work with women to guide them and lead them into rising unapologetically. And I do work a lot with energy. We work with botanical perfumery, witchcraft, and astrology. So I bring all of that together, and it's a very, very powerful source of energy to work with and create the shifts that we all desire.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you. And then Denise, I know we've met, but I don't know if everybody else who's watching knows you. So can you tell us where you are and what you do?
I'm just outside of Vancouver, British Columbia in Canada. And I actually train electricians for the body. So I work with energy, the body energy, the electrical energy from the brain to the muscles. And I train, mentor, and license individuals to be muscle tuner specialists. And it works in person, and it works beautifully over Zoom because energy, it flows.
There's no stopping it, is there? Okay, great stuff. And then Joanne, where are you and what is your specialty?
Yes, I'm the far north New South Wales in Australia, beautiful area in the hinterland. And I also work with energy in a different form. I work with emotional energy and empowering women to, tap into that, to move to a higher frequency, I guess, to achieve what they want in life. So I'm looking forward to this very exciting discussion today, and thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. And I didn't tell everyone where I am, so I think I should share that I'm in the south of China in a beautiful place called Guilin, and this picture in the background is part of the local scenery, and I keep it there because it just reminds me of how beautiful this world is that we live on. And that's very, very special that we all remember that we live on this beautiful, beautiful planet. And it is an honor to host this discussion because energy is what we are, isn't it, really, at the end of the day? So, I'm excited to see where we're going to go. So the first question I have is, what comes to mind when you think of energy as a language? And let's start with Julie and see what comes up.
Yes, this is a very, I think this is a fantastic question, and I can put it very simply. I believe our language is an energy. Our words, our thoughts, our feelings are all energy. They are our wand. So what we think, feel, speak, we can create. I think that's it. Quite simply, actually, I don't feel like I need to add any more to that.
Well, I think you've taken the words out of everybody else's mouth, so let me see how they go.
Very succinct.
Yeah. So, Joanne, do you have anything you'd like to add in that?
Sorry, was that for me?
Yeah.
Yes. I totally agree. And I'd just like to add that, it's like a communication channel to everything. And, we can tap into our energy field. And I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about that to get information, which is speaking to us for what we specifically need. As far as, from the emotional side of things and tapping into the energy for healing that. So it's a communication channel is what I wanted to add. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. And Denise, what would you say? Because you work with electricity, which is a form of energy.
Yeah, well, besides just working on the physical body, I also really work in the auric fields and the chakras, and I use acupressure formatting. It's a lingo in my world to ask the body, where's the energy stuck? And so I use energy in a language the body understands and can interpret and can respond back with. And it's really hard to explain, but the body will talk to you energetically. It'll give you yeses. It'll give you no's. It'll say, I'm confused, I'm stuck. And for people who can be facilitators of that, it's literally like being a translator and to read the energy that the client is feeding back to you. And I don't know what else to say because what's been said so far is pretty profound.
Okay, great. And then Linda, what do you have to add?
Well, you haven't left me much to add here. No, energy really is everything, and everything in our lives, it's communicating with us all the time. So there's our thoughts, there's our emotions, how we feel, but even the people who come into our lives, the types of people, how we feel about them, how they make us feel, the situations and experiences that we have, all have an energy, and they're all telling us something about ourselves. Even our environment, I work a lot with environment, and that's a beautiful way, an easy way of seeing what's going on with a person is to take a look at what's going on in their environment, because everything that's going on with them energetically is reflected there. And it's a wonderful way to bring about any personal change is by simply making changes in your environment, which then has an impact on your own personal energy. So energy is everything, and everything around us, everything in our life experience, I believe, is talking to us all the time and giving us information. It's whether we pay attention to that or not. But when you do start paying attention, you start realizing that there is a language of energy and that there's so much information that you're receiving that's really helpful if we pay attention to it.
That's a big point. If we pay attention, that's a wonderful point. I'd just like to welcome Yasmin, and it's great to have you here, Yasmin. If you're not, you don't have anything to say, can you just mute yourself, just in case there's any background noises that come along? We'd appreciate that. But before you do you have anything you'd like to share? Okay, it doesn't look like it at this moment, but here's a question I ask for many people who I talk to, and I ask them, what do you use to listen with? And many people who answer me look at me as I'm strange, and they say, my ears, why? What's wrong with you? And okay, well, why don't you use your whole body? And that makes them stop and think a little bit. And that's really what we're talking about, isn't it? And each of us have said it in slightly different ways. Words, what we hear from our ears is just noise. And it's the, words are labels, but it's the association and the energy that we put into those words that is important. And that energy can convey in the letters, but it also is transmitted through our body and all the energetic fields we have in our body. And I think that is one of the biggest takeaways that I've had in my life, is there's more to a conversation than just talking. And it's a shame to me that we don't learn this at school. You know, I was talking with a friend of mine the other day, and she said something like, you know, the words that just fall out of our mouth. And I said, yeah, you're often along with the food that we've got in at the same time. We just carelessly throw them around, but we never think about, you know, the association. What is the energy behind that? And for many people, they just hear a word and then they put their own interpretation on the word. And then we wonder why we have a miscommunication. So I think it's very, very important to take on board this whole aspect of energy, because everything is energy. We are energy, etc., etc., and that's very important. So if we think about understanding the language of energy, what are some pitfalls that we need to be aware of when we enter into those conversations? And let's see what Denise has to say first this time.
Wow. There are numerous pitfalls, just like there are in a normal conversation. People could be mind reading. People can be inventing what they think the other person is really, truly saying. They're adding all kinds of extra information in there that is not there. Or they could be missing vital information. It's just going over their heads. So when you're reading energy and listening to energy, I think it's important to take our filters away, the ones that you might have because you're human. And when somebody looks at you a certain way, you expect a certain tone of voice. So, you know, that person looks angry. They're going to talk to me, you know, in an angry voice. So what if you're subconsciously doing that when you're having an energetic conversation? Because if you're a healer, if you're a facilitator of some sort, a coach, and you're working in the energy realm, if you're not reading it right, if you're not hearing it right, the output is not going to be very useful. So you have to be clear. You have to be as unbiased as possible.
So you mentioned listening to the energy. How would somebody do that? Because it's not something that people really take on board or understand, is it?
We all have different senses. And I've been told when I have clients in my clinic and they lay fully clothed at a massage table, I do muscle testing, I'll touch reflex points. I will be doing something while we call it monitoring a muscle, to see if the muscle is communicating to the unconscious mind, giving you a yes, giving you a no. And I've been told that I turn my ear a little bit when I'm like muscle testing. And they say, it's like you're listening for the answer, not just watching what the muscle does. And that just happens to be my style. But because it's language, I think we do have to listen. If you can access that part of yourself, I think you'll get along a little more easily in the world of energy.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting you say that, because I found that you know, doing a lot of work over the phone without video or without being able to see people, you can still hear and feel the changes in the energy of the other person, but you're actually still got the phone to your ear and you're listening to it. So in some way you are listening in that respect. I mean, I'll never forget, there was a lady I was working with, and we were on the phone talking, and I just said to her, you've just leant back in your chair and stretched your legs out there. And she was like deathly silent. And I could just picture her looking around the room for hidden cameras. And then she said, how did you know that? And, you know, I just felt her energy shift. And how, you know, I mean, it's very difficult to explain to someone how you can pick that up over the phone. But I think if you have conversations more and more and you focus on that, then you can train yourself to be able to do it at will. And then it becomes part of your natural cycle or your natural listening mode, doesn't it?
Well, it's not just auditory. When you're listening, you will sense something. People will feel different parts of their body light up or deaden down. So listening is it's just a term. It's about sensing.
Yeah. And again, it's a label, and labels are very limiting, aren't they? So, you know, that's the problem with words. We use these.
Okay, Stuart's just frozen.
You
Have
might
I
need to
frozen?
mute and unmute yourself. There you are.
Okay. So I don't know what you missed or you didn't miss. But let's go over to Linda and then have her take on the pitfalls.
I think the pitfalls come when we're trying to listen from the mind. I think the language of energy is more about listening with your whole being and getting the mind out of the way. I think the more we try to bring the mind into it to figure things out or to listen in the typical way. So just like you described, Stuart, when you're talking to someone, whether you can see them or not, it's not about the words that they're saying. It's about the energy behind the words. It's the energy they're bringing. And you can't hear that with your ears. It's more of a hearing with your entire being. That's the only way I know how to describe it. It's just a knowing that you have, right? You knew something about that person, and it wasn't from the words she was saying, it was from an energy shift. So it's the more you tune into your body and connect with not just your body, but with your being, with who you really are, that's when you start to become more and more aware, I think, of energy, not only your energy, but the energy around you and the energy that's coming to you from other people or situations, whatever it is. So I think the pitfall for me is really about coming from the mind. As long as if you can bypass that and focus on being rather than our typical doing or mind activity, that's what makes it more effective for me.
Yeah, and I think we have to give ourselves permission, don't we, to be able to do that, to step outside of our mind and really connect to our whole body.
We do, and it's a scary thing. Yeah, we're not taught, and it's a scary thing for many people because they think they have to try to control things by using their mind, and they think that if they relax that even just a little bit, they're letting go of control. Whereas to me, the opposite is true. When you are able to connect with your being and start paying attention to energy and then start understanding it and being able to change it wherever you need to, that's when you have control. The mind has no control over it. That's what gets in the way, I think.
Yeah, I found that for me personally, and it may be true for you as well, that when I go out into nature, I've got a whole different way of communicating, and I can see and hear and feel things. When I say see, yeah, my eyes are triggered, but I see them in a way which has been introduced to me by something else. There's an energetic connection. And there's a beautiful story. I mean, I was in a garden in South Africa when I was living there, and I was looking at the garden to do some landscaping work, and they had a derelict swimming pool there. And on the edge of the pool was a kingfisher, a little beautiful kingfisher. And he was looking in the dirty water at the bottom of the pool, and it was just looking at the tadpoles and everything else. And then all of a sudden, its beak went straight up like that, and it's tracking something in the sky as though it's an artillery piece. And I was curious, so I looked up and I'm looking, and eventually I saw this little speck circling around with intent. It was a hawk
Mm.
looking for something to eat. And this kingfisher didn't want to be its meal. But my question afterwards to myself was, how did he know? Because I don't know that kingfishers have got such, acute vision or anything like that. How did it know that that hawk was so high up in the sky that I could hardly see it when I was purposefully looking for it?
Yeah.
There was some communication there.
Yes.
That is out of this world in some ways. And it's
Yes.
just such a beautiful lesson for us all.
That's a wonderful lesson. I love that. Yeah.
So Joanne, do you want to join in with some pitfalls or any takeaways?
Absolutely. 100% Linda, 100%. And energy is everything. But I just also wanted to add to the piece that Denise was talking about in tuning in or listening in. For me, it's like tuning in. And, as a therapist, I don't feel it's my responsibility to tell the client what I'm seeing or feeling or hearing. I love to intensify, I guess, the energy so that they can express to me how they are, what they're seeing, what they're feeling, and what they're experiencing. And in that itself is that's when I feel like the transformation really lands for them, because it's like, whoa, it may be something they haven't been able to access before, particularly when it comes to the area of, deep wounding, trauma, things like that. It can be really powerful to, act as a guide more so than we might see it, but they're not always ready to hear it. So it's important, very important, that we are mindful that, until they see it, they're not going to get the experience that they need from that. But it's absolutely fascinating. And often we do draw it out, right, Denise? They find it and they go, well, they had no idea that was been within their energy field or in their body, holding in their body as an energy. So yeah, feeling the mind is a big part of it, as Linda has just expressed. And, if we can just get out of our own way and drop into our bodies. And for me, it's more in the heart. I feel from the heart, because that sort of almost is the center of all of our chakras. If I'm no expert on chakras, but I know enough to feel that there. And also in the solar plexus, dropping deep down is a place where you will find information. Done a lot of work around, hip and pelvic floor area, particularly for women, to really break through and experience energy that's been holding them back for a long, long time. So I think that's the bit I just like to add.
No, I mean, when you think of it, we have, in general English language, 3 recognized areas that we receive messages. We have the gut feel, we have the heart, and we have the mind. And, those are the 3 commonly known areas or recognized areas, because we have different expressions around them. But there is so much more to that. And I remember I was looking at an ancient book from China about one of the martial art disciplines, and they talk about the dantian, and that is the gut. And they've recognized for a long time that is a major, major brain center in the body. And now it's become more and more accepted, shall we say, that every cell is actually a brain. Every single cell, every part of us. So every little piece of our body is an energy receptor. And that is astounding, really. And going back to what was said earlier, trust and belief.
Yes.
Those are 2 big words to bring into our vocabulary, aren't they? Trust in yourself and just believe what you're hearing is true. Don't be scared by it. Just work with it. That is something very, very powerful.
Be fascinated by it. It's fascinating. Yeah.
It is. We can learn so much just by being open and curious. So that's wonderful. So what about Julie? What do you have to add?
I guess using different words, there's a couple of things when you talked about the gut. I mean, this is why and I'm not a naturopath, I'm an aromatherapist, but naturopaths will immediately go to the gut for healing before anything else, because it touches everything. So it's incredible that it's been forever. As you said, the Chinese have picked that up a long time ago. Also, I love the saying from Esther Hicks and Abraham, being turned on, tuned in, and tapped in. So when we are open and to receiving and using all of our senses and even our nose, and I have to bring this in, of course, being an aromatherapist and a perfumer, because it's our strongest sense, yet our most ignored. And we can smell energy, because energy emanates off everything as well. And the other thing I feel is important, and all of these things have been mentioned, is to be very clear on your intention or the words that you want to speak, because our words are our wand. It is energy. So to come back to being turned on, tuned in, and tapped in, where we're conscious of what our language is, because our language is energy, and energy is a language. And when I lived off grid in the country, we had 40 acres, and I've always said to people, it was just so magical, and I love being in the bush, that you could see energy. You don't see it in the city so much, but you're sitting there around the bush, or it's around you actually, and you can literally see the energy moving. And to me, that is a language, and that's Mother Earth and nature speaking to us. And when we're connected to her, I believe for myself that I'm more open to hearing, feeling, touching, because we can touch energy, smelling, and living the energy. So the pitfalls to me are simply not being tuned into it and not being clear on our own language, which will affect the energy of language.
Yeah, and I would also like to add that not only smell, but taste.
Oh, taste, absolutely. Did I miss that one? Because I meant the five senses. Yeah.
I mean, I can often taste the perfume rather than smell it.
Well, that's because 80% of our taste comes from our sense of smell.
Yeah, it's almost like it bypasses that and goes straight to that part. And it is very powerful.
You can even, if you, they've done a lot of research on this, of course, but you can they used lavender, a drop of lavender essential oil onto the instep of your foot, because it has a very fast absorption rate, and within 20 minutes people can taste it.
Yeah.
So
it's phenomenal, isn't it? Really,
it is. The body is phenomenal. We take it so much for granted. It is
we just miss it.
phenomenal, and we are part of nature. We're all one.
Well, that is the thing, and that's what I thought about that kingfisher. It's connected. That's how it knows. It's just connected. It's part of everything, and it's such a beautiful thing. I mean, I had a beautiful experience once in Zimbabwe. I was just camping on a camping trip near Victoria Falls, and I was getting their barbecue ready, or as they say over there, a braai. And we were in a game reserve, and I was getting the wood ready and everything else. And next to me, there was some thick bush and trees and everything else. And just before I was going to light the fire, I just happened to glance up into the bush, and there was a full-grown elephant just standing there watching me. And my first thought was, it's not going to be very polite if I light the fire now. So I just stood there, and we had this beautiful conversation for about 10 minutes. We didn't say a word to each other vocally, but we had a really deep communication. And during that period, there was a family of warthogs that came down to the river for their evening sundowner because it was dusk. And one of them brushed my leg as it walked past. And it was just such a beautiful thing that I was so connected to nature and that environment that none of the animals recognized me as being outside of that. I was just part of it. I belonged there, and it was so beautiful.
Can I share something on that? Because I experienced that. I've got 5 unicorns. I call them unicorns because they're very magical. They're mini horses. And I spend a lot of time with them. And there is a language between us. I become the herd when I'm with them. And I am the leader of the herd when I'm with them. And then there's my mare that is the leader all the time. And we're talking like 30 to 34 inches. So but they have massive heart energy, horses. They're my greatest healing. And we have a language where we do not speak, but we smell. And I kiss them, so I taste them. I love the smell. We look into each other's eyes. I've had 2 of them for 20 years, and the youngest one is 9. So very intimate. And 3 of them I bred, 2 were babies from 6 months. But I sit there with them, and sometimes I'm surrounded by the 3 babies, and I just sit on the ground, and one of them loves to nibble, one of them loves to lick, one of them just loves to immerse herself in being cuddled. And the energy, the language, the exchange between us is phenomenal. And it is sometimes difficult to explain because it's about the experience. I mean, we can talk about it. However, I feel like you've really got to experience it. And I'm an animal lover, and I love the elephant. So that really touched me. But yes, there's a very much an energy in language, a silent language with animals.
Yeah, and you sometimes have that sort of exchange with couples or friends who've known each other for a long time, that they can communicate to each other. Even if they're apart physically, they can communicate to each other, and they know what each other's thinking or saying or whatever. That it is something that we can grow. Again, it's not something we're taught about. We're very restricted as we go through our childhood. There's so much pressure to conform to whatever doctrine there is there at the time, and it's a bit of a challenge.
Imagine if our children were taught this in school.
Well, I'm hoping that I can introduce this knowledge to my 2 young children. I'm working my best at that and hoping to keep them out of the doctrine, but not take them into a Joan of Arc situation where they're an outcast. That's an interesting journey in and of itself. Yeah. And there's a question from Denise in the chat. She asked, when we listen to others or conversations, are we always taking everything from the perspective of our emotional state at the time? And she says that she sees that we are all unique and all different. So who would like to address that? Okay, go ahead then, Linda.
Well, I think so. I mean, it depends on our level of awareness, our level of consciousness, whatever's going on for us at the time, because somebody can say something to you, and you immediately respond or react angrily. Maybe it makes you feel angry, maybe it makes you feel sad. That actually doesn't really have anything to do with them. That doesn't have anything to do with what they said, what they did. Whatever they say or do is their stuff. That's what's going on for them. How you react to that, that's you. So, you could hear the same thing. Because I play tennis, and it's been one of my biggest personal growth areas is playing tennis. Because you think that playing tennis competitively at my age, it's all just for fun. But no, people get really serious about it. And so sometimes there's some strange things going on, and they'll try some gamesmanship or something like that. Well, when I first started to play tennis, that would really upset me. And I would think, well, why can't they just play tennis? And, you know, why is somebody behaving this way? And then that would affect my game, and it would kind of spiral from there. So that would affect my energy. Then I learned that whatever they're doing or whatever they're saying, whatever is going on, that's based on where they are in their life at the time. And I can just observe that. I can just notice it, but I don't have to take it on. So if I take it on, then it becomes mine. And that depends on what's going on for me at the time, my level of consciousness, my level of self-awareness. So I think, yes, I think that when whatever somebody is saying, how you interpret that is what's going on for you. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Does anyone else, Joanne, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. We could all listen to one person speak and all interpret it in our own language. And I do believe personally that it can be how we respond or react, because for me they're two different things, is going to be how our emotional state or our state of being is. If we have the awareness, then we may be able to pull ourselves in so that perhaps we can take our emotions out of it. So again, it's always going to depend on what is being said to start with. But in short, yes, I believe that the perspective in which we receive the information can be affected by our emotional state at the time.
Okay, great. And Joanne?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I believe that depending on, you know, how you are feeling in any given moment is how you're going to interpret any conversation or situation. And for me, it's an opportunity for me to look at if that is triggering for me, or if that is something's coming up for me in that conversation, or I'm taking it in a way that is out of context. It's an opportunity for me to go inside and go, well, what part of me do I need to look at or address or heal, that I can, you know, use this information for my own self-reflection and healing. And I think this is why it's so important to continually working on ourselves and continually going inside and, you know, tuning in, as love that, you know, just dropping in, tuning in and doing the work on us so that we are not affected by other people's energy and vibrations, because it is just that frequencies that you're picking up depending on where you are in any time in your life. So yes, but not to beat yourself up about it. You know, it's like, oh, wow, you know, that's really been triggering for me, or that's what's the information, what's it trying to teach me, tell me, show me within me that I can use for my self-empowerment, essentially, to be better, to, you know, am I taking things personally? You know, is that a part of me that I need to look at? And where does that come from? And this can go, it's a big conversation, but it is an opportunity to really empower yourself. Yeah. So
yeah, and I think that one word, the awareness word, is a big point here. We know it's something that I think for many people it's a very small word, but it's actually a massive, massive word, and it's something that, you know, we have to grow. We have to investigate. And a good example of the situation such as the question is a busy parent.
Yeah,
they have a child and they're busy doing something which they've considered important, and the child wants some attention, mummy, daddy, mummy, or whatever. And we snap at them, we get angry with them because they're disturbing us, and we're not hearing where they're coming through from because we're so wrapped up in our own little world, and we don't take that time to move out. So it's it is a big challenge, and to grow that awareness muscle. And then obviously with the acceptance and lack of judgment, that gives us a lot of personal power. And it's one of my things that I think that we should be taught at school. Awareness, acceptance, and choice. 3 basic tenets of life, but we're not taught it.
No. Can I share something else too, just with children and awareness? In my generation, like I grew up, you know, children were seen and not heard. I'm sure many of us have experienced that. And even in today, in the modern world, even though I am a modern person, I'm ancient, but not that ancient. So one of the things I did, because I came from a very large family, there were 7 children, and my mum used to say, because there were 6 girls, 1 boy, and we'd be sitting around the dining table, and it's like, girls, I'm right here, I'm not over the road, because we were always trying to talk a bit above each other and have a say, because we never felt heard, because we were all trying to speak at the same time. And my mum was a very graceful and a lady and quiet, and we were all loud and boisterous. So what I did with my daughter to engage in conversation and create an empowerment for her was we would sit down and pass the talking stick to each other. And I started that when she was a toddler. So, you know, talking about language and energy and empowerment and being aware of how we use our energy, how we receive energy as a language. Just felt to share that.
Yeah, and it reminds me of a story when I was in South Africa again. I was in a customer's garden and we were talking about some of the landscaping that I was going to do there. And this woman had a young daughter, about 6 or 7 years old. And the woman and I were having a conversation. And the daughter kept saying, "Mummy, Mummy." And the ladies kept saying, "I'm busy. I'm talking to this gentleman. Wait, wait, wait." And it went on for a little while. And eventually the little girl got so frustrated, she just reached up and pulled the woman's top off. And I disappeared looking at the flowers somewhere else, and they hadn't exchanged. But it's a shame that the girl had to resort to something like that to get the attention she was looking for. It would have been so much better if the woman had said to the daughter, you know, "Okay, what is it that's so important?" I would have been happy as a proverbial if she would have done that. But she found a way to communicate, maybe not the most polite way, but it was very effective because she got the attention. You know, it was. But it shows you that we need to step outside of ourselves sometimes and hear what's going on around us and listen to the other people. So Denise, do you have anything to add to that question? And then we can ask.
Yeah, I'll just put my 2 cents in. Is definitely your emotional state plays into what you're observing or hearing from a conversation. And I'm just going to say it's really, really important to be effective in life, to be as grounded as possible. Because you can have the rabble rousers, and if you're not grounded, you're going to go, yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, or if somebody's really sad, you fall into their story. When you're grounded, you can hear from a more connected state and not get drawn into things. And when you're not grounded and you're more, you can be happy and grounded, you can be sad and grounded. But I think we were all understanding that. I think the question is your emotional state affect how you're interacting? So, yeah, because you're reacting, emotions are energy in motion, according to whoever came up with that little description. Totally true.
Yeah, and I was talking to Kim on the my show yesterday, and he was talking about the school of philosophy he attended to, and how one of the instructors said, you know, when he was asked a question, he said he's waiting for the person standing behind him to answer. So he's actually stepping outside of his whole, shall we say, nonsense, and creating that stillness and allowing himself to be grounded so he can answer from a place of power rather than being triggered. So that's, you know, it's very good that you said that. Thank you. So Denise Blackie, I hope we've answered your question. If we haven't, just put something in the chat and we can continue. And there's Peggy and Yasmin who have joined us, and if they have a question, you could unmute yourself and ask, or you can just put it in the chat, and we'll see who can answer it best for you. So, go on, Peggy.
Thank you. I'm new. I dialed in from Australia. It's the first time I joined this forum. I wonder, is it a monthly meetup, or how frequent we normally dial in?
It's more than, there's panel discussions every week, and we have different shows that we put on. I think Sophia can give you some information, a link in the chat for you to go to and do some investigations if you like, and see what appeals to you. Yeah. So would you do that, Sophia?
Okay. Yes, Stuart, sorry, I am here. I'm just doing everyone's links. Yeah, Peggy, I'll be putting stuff in soon, and if you can hang around at the end after we finish, not a problem. I can answer all your questions.
Okay, cool. Okay. I'm an extrovert person, and I always want to gain more energy. And then I found this forum is quite good. People are very diversified in their language. So I learned a lot of good words and phrases. So yeah, next time when I do some research, I'll be more prepared to share my story. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Great. Thank you for being here. And I'm glad you're getting some good takeaways.
Enjoying it. Thank you.
Okay, great stuff. So we've been speaking for a little while, and we've incorporated a few examples of the language of energy and how we bring it into our daily life. Do you have any tips, any other tips that you can give people, how we use it? You can't hear me.
I can hear you. I'm just bursting through the seams to answer this one.
Okay, go for it then.
We don't really think about energy as being frequency, perhaps. Maybe the people in this particular call do, because that's what we thrive on, the idea of working with energy. Energy is frequency. And frequency is shown in our world in many, many wonderful ways. As Julie was talking about, we have our senses. We see light, we see color, we feel, we hear, we taste, we smell. And thoughts are also a frequency. I'm sure some people have heard that thoughts are things. Pretty sure Julie was alluding to that. Be careful what words you wield, because they can become manifest. And I think in our daily lives, this is one of the things we talk about when I do the business code breaker sessions with a co-facilitator, very dear friend of mine, we introduce people to the idea that vibrations and frequencies can be harnessed. At the very simplest is having a little sit down with yourself and imagine a goal and bring all those different aspects to it. It makes a big difference. And if you're feeling gloomy, why don't you just, instead of looking at the gloomy picture you're having, change it, make it brighter, bring color in, bring some happy sounds into it. And all of a sudden you just cannot connect to that old feeling anymore, that old gloominess. So this is, I just had a session with somebody at a distance earlier today. He so needed to change the pictures in his head, and he just ended the whole session. He was laughing. And this is something anybody can do for themselves. So think about vibration and energy and frequency in the idea of taste and smell, touch, thoughts, feelings, and light and color. And I just feel, and I've been told, that sound is the highest vibration to shift anything. If you've got blocks, sound is the way. So let your little inner voice sing. It could be as simple as that. So thank you for letting me take first spot on that. I've been bursting to contribute that piece.
Yeah, and it reminded me of a conversation I had with a blind gentleman once, and he could see the colors. He's blind, he could see the colors. But what he was saying in the conversation was he lives in Switzerland, and he'd just been on a holiday in the Highlands of Scotland on his own. He didn't have a dog or a walking stick or anything with him. He just went on his own. And he was saying what he could see. He was describing the seagulls wheeling over the mountains. He was describing the sea. It was just such an eye-opening conversation that he can see all that, but he's got no eyes.
Did I
And
share?
it's
Oh,
beautiful.
sorry,
Oh.
but that got me excited too, because I teach this in my perfumery classes, because decades ago they did these studies with blind people, and they used blue paper and red paper. And when they held the blue paper, they could feel a coolness. They couldn't necessarily tell what color it was, but they knew it was a cool color. They could actually feel it. And when they felt the red, they felt warmness, the energy. And I just love all this stuff. And so I have to jump in and share it because it's so powerful, so powerful. And even our feelings, and it's like, you know, when you walk into a room, I teach this as well, because I used to lecture in aromatherapy over a decade ago. So it's, you know, you walk into a room because perfume, smell, and music can help to shift the energy, create the change. And so you walk into a room and you can feel an energy that may not feel very comfortable. And it could be walking into a friend's house and you think, oh, maybe they've had an argument, or it could be that somebody died. So you can use beautiful sounds and smells to actually shift the energy. Cypress, you'll see in a lot of graveyards in cemeteries as well. And it is the plant of transition, transformation, life, death, rebirth. And they're planted in those areas because the qualities and energy of that tree help the transition from this plane into the next. So, I mean, how far down the rabbit hole can we go?
Well, it is such a phenomenal topic. So, Joanne, do you want to quickly add something?
Yeah,
I've got one very important question I'd like to ask.
I know we're running out of time, but just even this conversation is just so energetically charged with, you know, how we can shift our energetic or vibration in just having these experiences. And when, you know, Julie's talking about the, you know, music and sound and dancing and vision, I teach a lot of this as well. So you know, we're all on the same page here. But yeah, you want to shift your energy, just put some music on, get up and dance and visualize how you want to feel. And movement is the fastest way that you can transform how you're feeling. I'm not saying to cover anything up, but just so that you can get through your day in an easier way, particularly if, you know, if you've got to, you know, you've got so much going on, you know, take the time to just stop and listen to how you feel and how you want to feel, and implement that practice on a regular basis, like, because we need to do things over and over and over until it becomes our norm, until our energy is shifting so much that we're in this vibration, which Denise talked about. Vibration and frequencies are part of my work as well. So I just think, you know, from a practical point of view, if you want to shift your energy, have, you know, and be around people that are high vibrational as well. There's so many things. We could go on for all day, but that's about it for me.
Yeah, and I'd like to just share an old trick from a writer's trick. And depending on what you're writing, if you're writing a fast, high energy piece, put some high energy music on at the time, because that energy will come into your writing. It will come out of you as you write it. If you've got something sad, put something sad on and use the music to stimulate you and to connect through the words that you've got on paper or the computer screen, because it works.
It's
does.
Very, very. I do that with perfumery.
Mm-hmm.
So I take people through, a consultation, and it's like, what music do you like? Because I need to step into their vibration to infuse their energy into the perfume. And then when they get it, the energy, the perfume changes its smell. Mm-hmm. I could have 5.
That reminds me, sorry, I just had to interject there. I'm a big tea fan. In China, there's a lot of different teas. And one of the things they say is the tea will change its flavor depending on the energy of the people who are drinking it.
Absolutely.
It's so beautiful.
It's incredible. I can have 5 people in a room, and we used to do this in the lecture for the diploma students, and they would create the same blend, the same formula, the same format, and they would all have a completely different smelling blend. And they used to just be amazed, because I'd just choose anybody from class, and they'd say, oh my God, how does that happen? And I'd go, oh, it's magic. So it's alchemy. It's our energy moves into everything. And yeah, it is magic. It's alchemy. Oh, so we could go on all day, couldn't we?
Yeah. Linda, I don't want to leave you out, so I want to give you first dib at this question, because we are getting a little bit short on time, but I think it's a very, very important question. And, it's bringing intuition into the whole picture. I mean, is energy just intuition, or is there something more to it? The language of energy, is it just intuition? Is there more to it? I
think there's so much more to it than intuition. I mean, intuition, yes, comes into it. It's as I said earlier, it's being, it's everything. It's around us all the time. And if I could just quickly interject, Julie talked about environment. I used to work a lot with realtors. I'm a trained feng shui practitioner, and I used to do that years ago. I worked a lot with realtors, and we would often talk about, because they went in so many houses, they could easily tell within seconds of walking into a house whether there was a lot of love in that house, whether there was anger, whether there was sadness. They would immediately get a feel for, oh, this is great energy in this house, or, oh, this is going to be tough to sell because the energy here is not good. And I worked a lot with helping people sell houses that looked perfect but just wouldn't sell, because the buyers would pick up on the energy that was there in the home, and they didn't know why. They didn't know what it was. They just felt it, and they just felt something was off. So I think it is just so much more. And we think of energy in terms of our personal energy. We don't think necessarily of how it impacts everything and everybody and everything we do, but it's what we're putting out into the world all the time. And I think the environment is a great example of that, is when people come in and they just feel it.
Yeah, it's very special, and we could continue this conversation for so long.
Yes.
But we have to respect the clock, the energy of time. So in 10 seconds or 20 seconds, do you have anything else you'd like to add? Anybody? Denise, anything to say?
I just invite everybody to explore and be open that the sensations that you're sensing, there's something. It is not just a random little tickle. It's talking to you. There was a scientist at a conference I attended, and he did a blend of what a few things were said today. He had us listen with not our ears, listen with our eyes, smell with our feet, and see through our fingertips. And in a group of about 350 people in this hall, it was astounding what I was sensing. For example, through my fingertips hanging down, we were all standing up. I thought I could see the bones in my feet like an X-ray. and I got sensations in my feet that I went, oh, smelling through the feet. So now when I'm in clinic and my feet have that tingle, I reach for the aromatherapy and offer it to the client. And immediately the tingle goes away. So listen to your signs. Listen, they're all unique to you, and enjoy.
It's powerful. Thank you. What about Joanne? Do you have anything
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I did want to say something. Oh, sorry.
Okay, Yasmin. Go on, Yasmin.
Yeah. No, thank you for the spotlight for a moment. Yeah, I have been having a hard time. Like, I'm 26 right now and I'm dating, and I just want to say, like, this whole talk today, like, is going over like things that I really like can't find many people to discuss with. And yeah, you mentioned about like the signs that are around that are we listening and like picking up on all the energy that's going on and just with interactions with new people. But I think, like, can I just say, like, the hardest part is like trusting it. And maybe it is like based off of I don't know, just going to school, like I'm educated, like you learn things in school, and for some reason I look back and I just trust all of that. But like when it comes to this thing of that's like intangible, it's like intangible things I'm picking up on, like, oh well, this person didn't feel right. It's like hard to know why, and like I feel like I have to explain it, like, oh, there has to be a reason why, and then being able to let go and like trust.
Can I make a suggestion? Forget the why. It's there for a reason. Forget the why. It's not important. Just trust that feeling. And as Denise said, when she has this sensation in her feet, she doesn't question it. She just goes for the aromatherapy oils, and then all of a sudden everything's fine. And it is, I think we preoccupy ourselves with why too much. And that takes us away from that trust and that belief in yourself.
It does. In fact, it like leaves me confused usually. And then there's like, oh, well, there's no answers. And I'm just like left with, well, am I right? Like,
yeah, you are right, because that's the message you received. That's what you received. So you are right. Trust it and go with it. It is a very powerful thing to do.
Thank you.
Okay. It's, and I would suggest that you spend more time exploring the community of Sacred You, because there are a lot of people here who, you could have some wonderful conversations with and get some great advice from. So stick around and let Sophia introduce a little bit more about it. And I'm sure it will help you so much.
I will stay tuned. Thank you.
So we are 2 minutes after the hour, and I do apologize for going on. We could be here till 11 tomorrow if you'd like, but we have other things to do. So I would just like to say a big, big thank you to everybody, Yasmin and obviously Peggy and Denise Blakeney. She's just put in the chat. I feel energy is love and allowing ourselves to receive the universal love and it's in its fullness. And from that, we feel and experience everything. So that's a beautiful thought to take away with us all. So thank you for that, Denise. And, thank you for such an interesting discussion. And I apologize for having to cut it short, but it's been a highlight of my day today. So thank you, everybody. And Sophia, do you have anything you'd like to bring in?
I do, Stuart, and you know what it means if you have to cut your conversation short, don't you?
Yep.
It means we have to have a part 2.
Yep.
Sometime very, very, very soon. But I'd just like to thank you, first of all, for doing a wonderful job of facilitating, and thank all our beautiful panelists coming and sharing their time with us on how we can cope with energy, basically, and recharge our energy. Yes, a couple of things to announce, but before I do, I just want to give everyone a very quick opportunity just to go around and tell us about your tribe and or your business, because we've got a lot of tribe hosts, which we'll talk about right at the end. So, Stuart, because you're our facilitator, tell us a little bit about you and your tribe that you host.
Well, the tribe I host is called Break Through the BS Barriers. And you can say BS is BSH1T, or you can say belief systems, you choose, but they're both the same. But, I find that many people create these mental prisons in their mind, and they restrict themselves and they don't connect to their true beauty or true potential because of that. So my job is to help people break through those and find out what the soul's been trying to tell them for so long, so they can become the best version of themselves. And it's just such a beautiful thing to do. So my tribe is basically an extension of what I do, if you like.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. And again, for everyone who's watching, thoroughly recommend coming and join Stuart's tribe, which is on in Australian times, Thursdays at 11 a.m. It's Australian Eastern Standard Time. Julie, what about your beautiful self? Tell us your tribe, which is about to meet very soon.
We are the bewitching tribe. It's quite eclectic. So we do astrology, we do magic as in witchcraft. So setting intentions, working with energy, perfumery. Today we're going to be tapping into our inner goddess. So it's quite eclectic and brings everything in. And the idea is to help. And of course, men can join. I would change it up for that. It's about owning our own self, really, more understanding our own self. Through astrology, we can understand our blueprint. Through magic, we can set intentions and work with the moon phases. Through perfumery, we work with the essential oils and tap into those qualities for healing or motivate, whatever you want. Actually, whatever your desire is, we can work with that. So yeah, it's very, very eclectic and fun.
It is thoroughly recommended for anyone who wants to join. I'll tell you more about it, but Julie's tribe's coming up, like I said, in 25 minutes. Jo, what about your beautiful tribe? Tell us about that.
Yes, my gorgeous tribe of women who we get together every second week, every second Wednesday, is called Empowering You to Live your best life, basically. And I'm an NLP practitioner and hypnosis practitioner, but I've learned a lot of other modalities along the way. So we incorporate all of that, belief systems and behavior stuff, and it's just a beautiful place where you can show up. It's guided by the women that are there and what they need. We do have a theme, but it often is just organically guided to what is necessary on the day. So I work with frequencies also, and also if you're watching, would like to have a frequency session with me, I offer that, for you to have that experience so you can feel energy working within your system. And it's a beautiful way to really, get to know your own energy system. So yeah, reach out if you'd like that as well.
Thank you. And of course, everyone can click on the links in the comments for all of these wonderful tribes. Denise, gotta come and join Denise's tribe. All of our tribes, but Denise, I so love your tribe. Tell us about that.
Well, I facilitate the tune-ups for body, mind, and spirit, or soul tribe, because I come at it from a physical perspective, and I'm sneaky about the sacred and spiritual aspect that starts to shift when you work with the physical body and whatever you do. So we were talking about movement changes things. I was laughing with Joe. I wasn't laughing at you, Joe, but when you were talking about the fastest way to move is a few people were moving in their chair and their shoulders were going back and we're going, yeah, because so tune-ups for body, mind, and spirit. I'm developing a community of people who share tips that really help to release pain, whether that's physical or emotional, spiritual. And I always share tips that are very useful, practical, and everybody goes, oh, during the class. So that's why Sophia is quite a fan. Come and join me on every other Tuesday in Canada. In Australia, it's the first thing in the morning on Wednesdays, and on Tuesdays here on the Pacific Coast, it's at 3 p.m. You'll find me in the listings.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Absolutely. And again, highly recommend it. I've taken so much benefit from it. You never know how much, a little thing in your body affects something else in your body. So it's incredible. Denise is a powerhouse, wealth of knowledge about how body parts affect each other. Now, last but not least, our beautiful Linda. Now, I've got some exciting news for everyone here and who's watching us. Linda has just recently joined us as a host and will be hosting a very special tribe that I'm really excited about. So you're more than welcome to tell us about that, Linda, and also your business too, if you've got anything that you want to let people know about.
I see myself as an energy interpreter. So I specialize in working with people who are very sensitive, particularly women who are highly sensitive empaths, who are much more deeply affected by energy than many other people. And because of that, they feel very different and maybe misunderstood because of that. So I help them interpret what energy is going on. The tribe that we are starting is a feng shui tribe. I don't know if that's what I'm going to call it yet, but that's basically what it is. So we'll be talking specifically about the energy in your environment, and you'll be amazed how the dramatic changes that can occur when you really start to become aware of what is happening with the energy in your environment, and you start to change that with intention. It's incredibly powerful. Any personal growth work that you're doing, allow your home to support you as you do that. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm really excited about that. And I'm really honored and excited that you've joined us to share your wealth of knowledge on energy and feng shui. And thank you to Yasmin and to Peggy and to Denise, who's been watching us in Facebook, and everyone else who's been watching us. Do click on the links below and check out all these wonderful people who have just given up their time to share their knowledge. And while you're there, do click on the links. Come and check out Sacred You. For those who don't know us, you can join any of these tribes, all of these tribes, just for $1 Australian. Just come and try it out for 2 weeks. You get to join Julie's Bewitching Tribe, Joe's tribe on empowering yourself, Denise's Tune Up for body, mind, and spirit, and also Stuart's to break through the BS barriers. We've got about 30 other tribes you can check out. Join it just for $1 Australian for 2 weeks. And then after that, it's only $15 Australian a month. And you get so much knowledge and wealth. Wealth, definitely, you wouldn't, for everything that you get for that, you would not be able to get it for $15 Australian. That's what I want to see. You saw just Denise on her own. There's no way for $15 Australian. Hey, Denise and Joe and Julie and Stuart, click on the links. Do click on the links and come and see us in 5 days' time. We are back with Emotionally Resilient, Strengthening Your Mindset for Success. That's coming up on the 9th of August at 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Very early in the morning for everyone in the US, but the recordings will be there. Thank you. Got to go. Thank you again ever so much, everyone who has joined us. I have really loved it. It has been wonderful. So thank you, and thank you.
Yeah, it's been an honor. So I second that.
Thank you, Stuart, for hosting it.
Thank you, everyone.